You had a relationship with Coretta Scott.
Yeah, I love Coretta.
Yes.
She was amazing. She was phenomenal. I call her the Queen of America. And I learned so much from her because I wanted to look at Martin Luther King through her eyes because I figured nobody would know him better than her. And she saw a side of him that no one else saw. So I pursued her many years to get the rights to make a mini series about her. And I just learned so much. She allowed me to interview her for hours. And it's one of my greatest, it's just one of my greatest moments in life, just being with her and interviewing her. And she taught me a lot. She said, look, as Black people, we had 4 major challenges. Number 1, end slavery. Number 2, end Jim Crow, which I think was more damaging than slavery because, when we were slaves, we were considered an asset. And as we all know, at one point, slavery was 60% of the GDP. It's one of the biggest businesses in the history of America and no close second.
We just had a town hall yesterday with the purveyors, the creators of the 1619 Project from New York Times Magazine. And what you're saying, once the cotton gin happened, it was lights out, and it was brutality at the highest level, and Black bodies fueling this machine because it made America great.
It made America very, very wealthy, very wealthy. 60% of the gross domestic, the GDP, that's huge, 60%. Like, you have huge industries nowhere close to that 60%.
No, bigger than the railroads and
everything,
and the factories, all that combined, was the enslaved.
And then you made it a market where it became a commodity, slave trading, and so in Europe, and so when you were a slave, you were an asset. The moment you were freed, then we became a liability
and a pariah.
And so they said, look, we have to murder you, we have to lynch you, we have to incarcerate you because we're not going to compete with you over the great American dollar. So, Jim Crow was a very, very rough period. And we still experience it today. She said number 2 achieves.
Number 3.
Yeah, she said number 3, excuse me. Yeah, number 3 achieves civil rights. And then she choked up. And then she said, number 4, the real reason they killed my Martin, achieve economic inclusion. And she said, look, they didn't kill him over the speech, I have a dream. By the time they killed him, he had achieved civil rights. They killed him mainly over the speech, the other America. There are 2 Americas. One America has opportunity, access to education, bank loans that are not, predatory. What does it matter if I can sit at the same lunch counter as my white counterpart and I cannot afford the same hamburger? There are 2 Americas, and 2 Americas will not survive. We need one America. And it's as if he wrote the lyrics, he wrote that speech yesterday. And it applies today. So when you look at it, we have these 2 Americas, and 2 Americas won't survive. When you look, we're about 330 million people out of a global population of 7 billion people, okay? China has 200 million kids in college. 2/3 of our nation in America is in college in China. Half the women in this country, live at or below the poverty line. At or below the poverty line. And you have over 2.5 million homeless children. So if the mothers fail, so will the children. The mothers must succeed. You can't have the mothers living at or below the poverty line. You need every American fully engaged and every American educated. Because here's what other countries know, like China and Russia. As the global population goes from 7 billion to 10 billion, we don't have enough resources, food, water, supplies, to support the bottom 5 billion. So the bottom 5 billion will perish, and the top 5 billion will survive and will live. So we need the American tribe. We need America to be fully educated, fully engaged, and at the top of the pyramid and above that 50% mark in order for us to really thrive as a country. So one America is still very much alive today. We need one America. So I learned that from her. And it's something that's always stuck with me.